You aren't stuck because you have too many options. You're stuck because you think choosing one thing means giving up on everything else. This video will show you how to move between multiple directions without losing a single thing you've built. You open your laptop to get to work. 10 minutes later, you're reading an article about something completely unrelated. A tab about a skill you were obsessed with last week is still sitting there, untouched. You try to focus, but your mind is already gone. A part of you is whispering, if I stay here, am I missing out on something better? Look, you don't lack focus. You're just being pulled in too many directions at once. In this video, you'll understand exactly why that happens and how to stop forcing yourself to choose between them. If this sounds like you, keep watching, because your problem isn't a lack of discipline. It's the way you're trying to choose. And it all starts with something very simple. You open a tab, then another one, and another, until the titles disappear and all you see are tiny icons staring back at you. Right now, you might be watching a video on coding, but right next to it is a psychology article you've been meaning to finish since last Tuesday. In your inbox, that course you were so hyped to buy, still sitting at lesson 3. And your phone? It's a graveyard of digital notes million-dollar ideas that you've never actually touched. Here's the thing. Your brain isn't scattered. It's just busy scanning everything, asking, does this connect to that? That is why you don't stay long enough with anything. It's not a lack of willpower. It's a fear of missing the missing link. Biologically, your brain is prioritizing connection seeking over task completion. The cost? You're accumulating 1,000 starting lines, but you don't have a single finish line to stand on. There's a voice in your head whispering, if I stay here too long, I might miss something better. Listen, you aren't lazy. The problem is you're addicted to the possibility of becoming rather than actually becoming. And it's this exact brain mechanism that makes all that hustle culture discipline advice completely useless for you. You don't learn in a straight line. You learn in leaps. Think about it. You're reading about history, and suddenly you're thinking about design. So you open a new tab on user interfaces. To anyone else, it looks like you've lost focus. But inside your brain, a connection is being made. It's trying to stitch these scattered pieces together. Your dopamine spike doesn't come from finishing a task. It comes from that aha moment when two unrelated things suddenly click. Biologically, your reward system is wired for pattern discovery, not task completion. The cost? You're constantly chasing the high of a new insight, but you never stay long enough to turn that insight into a real skill. Your inner monologue is always asking, this is cool, but what if there's something even cooler over there? The truth is, you aren't a slow learner. You're just learning horizontally before you've gone deep enough vertically. The problem is, the world just wasn't built to reward that. You're told to pick one thing and stick to it. People always ask, what do you do? But no one ever asks, what are all the things you're becoming? So you pick a direction. You start building. But a few months in, something else pulls you away. And every time that happens, it's not just about the lost progress. It feels like you're breaking yourself. You start wondering, why is everyone else moving in a straight line while I'm constantly taking detours? Here's the reality. Society rewards a stable identity. But your brain? It's wired for an exploration loop. And because of that, you've started to see every pivot as a personal failure. Your inner monologue is stuck on repeat. Why can't I just stick to one thing like everyone else? Listen, you aren't broken. You're just trying to live in a system that wasn't designed for you. But the real problem? It goes even deeper than that. You think you need to choose the right thing. But the truth is, you're choosing the wrong way. You aren't just picking a career. You're trying to pick a single version of yourself and lock it in. That's why every time you want to pivot, it feels like you're losing everything you've built. But look back. Your moments of deepest focus didn't happen when you promised to stay forever. They happened when you knew, I'm here just for this season. Your focus actually thrives on temporality. Psychologically, your brain feels safer when it knows there's an exit. That sense of freedom is exactly what allows you to go deep. But you're sabotaging that focus by forcing every interest to be a life sentence. Your inner monologue is saying, if I choose this, I lose every other version of me. Listen, you aren't afraid of commitment. You're afraid of being trapped in a version of yourself that no longer fits. And once you see this, everything starts to shift. Maybe you don't need to pick one thing. Maybe you just need to learn how to move between things without losing your momentum. Imagine you aren't building a single career. You're building pillars, one by one. You dive deep into one field for a season, long enough for it to become a real skill. And then you move on. Not to quit, but to carry that knowledge over to your next pillar. Every time you do this, you aren't starting over. You're compounding. Your brain retains the patterns, not just the specific context. Without this system, every pivot feels like a reset to zero. But with it, everything changes. Your inner monologue shifts. Wait, maybe I don't lose everything when I switch. Listen, you aren't starting over. You're just repositioning what you've already built. But if you don't control how you move, you'll find yourself right back where you started. You don't need more motivation. You just need a different way to play the game. First, you pick a pillar. Not for life, just for this season. You stay long enough to master the core 80%. Long enough to solve most problems on your own. Then, you make a conscious exit. Not because you're bored, but because you've extracted the value you came for. Along the way, you document every pattern you learn, so that when you return, you aren't starting from zero. Biologically, an external system holds your mental models, freeing up your working memory to keep exploring. Without it, everything you learn fades into a vague feeling of, I think I used to know this. Your inner monologue becomes, I've seen this before, but I can't actually use it. That's how you get stuck. The truth is, you don't lack time. You lack a structure to hold on to where you've been. And once you have that structure, the way you see yourself changes forever. You don't need to find the one right path. You just need a way to move without losing who you've become. If you're someone who is constantly pulled in a dozen directions, but every time you choose one, you feel like you're losing the rest, listen, you aren't scattered. You just haven't learned how to hold on to yourself while you move. The truth is, you don't build one life. You carry pieces of many. So, what directions are you standing between right now? And which ones did you leave behind that are actually still a part of you? Let me know in the comments. If you want to dive deeper into how your brain works in moments like these, you're welcome to stay. There are things you think you've abandoned. But the truth is, you just haven't learned how to return to them yet.